Hey guys, welcome back to Motorcycle Maintenance Channel. On this episode, we're going to show you how to replace your chain and sprockets on a 2013 R6 motorcycle. In this case, we're going to be using a 520 chain and sprocket kit conversion with one tooth down in the front. But at any rate, it's the same procedure no matter if you're going back to stock or upgrading to a different set of chain and sprockets. First thing we're going to do is loosen these bolts that hold the sprocket onto the wheel. They're 17 millimeters, and we're just going to do it like this so that the wheel kind of holds it. The wheel holds it steady, so we don't have to struggle with it when it's on the ground. Not going to take them all the way off. We're just going to kind of break them loose a little bit. So we're just going to leave it in gear to kind of help hold the wheel steady and in place. The manual says these need to be at 72 foot-pounds of torque, but there is no way those are on there at 72 foot-pounds of torque because they're just breaking off pretty easy. Alright, we got all those loosened. Next, we're going to uncover the front sprocket. So we're going to take this off with a 4 millimeter Allen key. This one up here is a 5 millimeter Allen key. Okay. And down there is another 5 millimeter Allen key. And some people leave this cover piece off for looks. I wouldn't do it though, just because I feel like if you have shoelaces that could get stuck in there. That's what you're into. This third bolt's a little harder to get to, and I'd use a shorter Allen wrench for that here in a second. I have a 10 millimeter socket to take off the shift linkage. Your shift linkage might be facing the other direction. This one's GP shift, so it is facing backwards. That out of the way. Alright, take this cover off. And now to take the front bolt off, we're going to use a 1 3/16 socket. There's probably a metric version, but It's really big. It's between 28 millimeters and 32. And then for this, it helps to have a buddy step on the rear brake. Cobra, you must step on your rear brake. That stops the rear wheel from moving, so you don't turn the engine over, mess anything up. Clamps it down there. Alrighty, and that's off. Now we're going to remove the rear wheel. To see how you do that, check out our rear wheel removal and replacement video. So before we take our rear wheel off, we have everything loosened, the front sprocket off. Now we're going to break our chain. And to do that, we have our Stockton chain breaking tool. So you're going to grab one of these pins. This one here will probably push it through enough, but we're going to start with a smaller pin and then work our way up, because these will break. If they don't break, we're doing great. But if they do break, it happens. Each pin is about $10. So we're going to take this pin, which is our 2.9 millimeter pin to start out with. We're going to put the spring in our braking tool, followed by the pin, followed by this screw, I guess, or bolt. And then we'll take this cap off. Oh, actually, it'll fit through there, so maybe we can still utilize the cap just to guide it. We can get the pin to slide in just right. If not, yeah, we'll just have to take the cap off. This is fine. Okay. Now we're going to use this bottom piece, which allows the pin to come out through the other side. So we'll use this one here to help push it. Actually, is it that one? No, wrong piece. Oh, we'll just use it like this, because this will allow it to come out the other way as well. So I'm going to push that in again, see if it'll come back out. We're starting with the smaller pin, and then we'll move up to the bigger pin once we get it started. Just going to back this out, and you want to back it out till it's just slightly recessed, like that. And then choose a place here along the wheel to clamp it to. And slow here is the key. I'm actually going to go up to a thicker size. I kind of like to start with the smaller pin because I expect to break them. I know you shouldn't expect to break your tools, but sometimes you do. I'm going to go with the bigger one. The problem here is if this pin breaks, then you have to order a new one before we can continue the job again. So same thing, slightly recessed. Put it there. This is the thing that came with the tool, but I might, this kind of hurts my hand, so I might just get a socket and put it on the end of here. Back it out a little bit, push it there. So you want this snug and that snug. You get some wrenches. And your wrench size may vary. Depending on your chain breaking tool. So that's a 14. Tighten that down. That's also 14. There you go. Nice and slow. If this breaks, it's all over. I've seen in other videos people use grinders and stuff to do this. I wouldn't recommend sticking a grinder next to your aluminum bike, personally. Alright, it's feeling pretty good. We'll back it out now and see where we are with it. So it's right there, it's out now. But it's got to keep going through a little bit further. Our pin looks like it's in good shape, so that's good. So we'll put it back in. The key here is to go slow. And kind of feel, you can kind of feel the warping of the pin under the pressure of your hand. Pushing it through. And there it goes. Alright, mess-free way to break it. There's the pin that comes out of your chain. Take this out. Yeah, it looks like that's still in fairly decent shape. So good. Alright, so now we have this off. It should just come apart like that. There we go. And now we'll remove the rear tire. And to see how to do that, watch our rear tire removal video. Alright guys, we got our rear tire off. So now we're just going to pull off the bolts that hold the sprocket on, which we already broke while it was on the bike. So this should go easier. There is our old rear sprocket. Black rear sprocket. Put it on there. See, there's little washers here, so we're going to put the washers back on as well. See the difference in weight. Actually, I think the stock sprocket weighs a little bit less, but it's negligible. They're about the same. Put on the Vortex one. There you go. You'll put your labeling, the Vortex label, facing outward. The manual says to use 74 foot-pounds of torque to tighten these on. There is no way these were tightened to 74 foot-pounds of torque, I can tell you that. And from what I've heard from a lot of your experiences on the forums is that you snap these studs if you go that tight. So I'm going to do it about 60 pounds of torque, and just to be safe we're going to use some blue Loctite. We put the blue Loctite on each bolt. Don't use red Loctite because it'll make it really difficult for the next guy who tries to do this. I mean, this has to be done every 20,000 miles, so approximately. So I wouldn't use red Loctite unless you just don't like the person you're selling the motorcycle to. Okay. Remember to put your washers on. Okay. And now, just like if it were a wheel, if you're changing the flat tire, you kind of want to do a crisscross pattern of tightening it. So we're not even going to torque it down, we're just going to kind of tighten each one evenly as we go around. So that was at 62. Like I said, the book says 74, but people say that they have snapped it at 74. So I'm going to move it now up to like 68 and just give it a little once over. Work my way around. And I think that's good enough. I've personally snapped these bolts before on cars, so I don't want to go too tight with it. But I mean, that's close, and then we got the Loctite, so that's pretty safe. They say if you have all new equipment, all new bolts, and all new studs, you'd probably be okay going down to 74 foot-pounds of torque. I'd just be careful. It's a lot of torque for, what is this, 17 millimeter nut. So now we're up here on this front sprocket. Remove this little collar here to give us some clearance. While you have it off, it'd be a good idea just to like scrape some of the old, chain gunk and grease away from it. These things get coated fairly quickly, just because you're constantly lubing your chain. All right, anyways, so pull this forward a tad. Let's give it some room. Oh, got a washer here. Make sure that washer goes on. You put it back on again. And that should just come right off. And there's your weight savings. This goes right on your crankshaft, and it weighs a good deal more than the Vortex one. Vortex one is also 15 teeth, so we're one tooth down on this one, and you can tell it has these little weight saving holes cut out of it. So we're going to put that one on. Make sure the teeth line up around there. There we go. And now, washer again. Okay. And then the nut. And this is going to get torqued down to 63 foot-pounds of torque. So, we'll start with the breaker bar. Pounds of torque. There we go. 63 foot-pounds of torque. And it's flush there, so that's good. And look at it, it's nice. Gold and black, very stylish. But before we do that, we need to put our rear wheel back on. For detailed instructions on how to replace the rear wheel, check out our rear wheel video of how to remove and replace the rear wheel. Rear wheel installed. Best to put your bike in neutral, but sometimes for taking off the sprockets and stuff, it's better. And gear helps. So just since we have all that stuff disconnected right now, I'm just going to use a bungee to hold down the clutch lever. Alright guys, now we're in neutral. So I'm just going to use this here. And the reason I still have the old chain on here is because I'm going to use this one to feed the new chain through. Take our new chain out. This grease that they have on here, don't wipe it off. It's good grease. Okay, we're going to get our master link out. And we're just going to combine the two with the master link. Typically, you can take your master link and combine the two and use the old chain to feed the new chain through. But this one is being uncooperative. So there we go. This is a 120 link chain. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to make it into a 16 to a 15 link chain. Maybe tighter. I will say on this, you want to you want to leave, when it comes to cutting your chain and making it to size, you want to go small, and then if it's too big, remove another one. But if you go short early, you're stuck like that. We're going to take 5 links off of here. And we might end up taking more. Now time to break our new chain. Okay, here's the other one. Let's hope our pin is in decent shape enough to crimp the last bolt. Alright, got it off. Let's take the old seals off. Alright, now let's put our master link in there. Okay, your master link will come with 4 seals like this. And a little bit of lube. This lube it comes with is super special. Alright, so we're going to take our rubber seal, put it on this side of the master link, on this side, and these two will go on the back side. So put this through here. Stayed on there. There we go. Now put the back one on. We're going to put the seals on first. No seals. Okay. And that's the wrong way. So that's an example of how not to do it right there. So I'll take them back off, pull out the master link, and then we'll come at it from the back side. Notice how we're using the sprocket for stability. Okay, so there's 2 seals followed by the backing of the master link. We're going to put our seal here and another one here, and now the plate. And this is a rivet type master link. There's clip types, but those are really only suitable for small displacement engines. For 600, 1000 cc, you're going to want a rivet type. And honestly, I would do it all the way down to a 300. Okay, so there we are. But we're going to have to use our tool to put it on there. So, this one here will make way for our rivets. And this one, these are anvils. This anvil is going to go on the back end of our Stockton tool. Put that there and hope it doesn't fall. It fell. Alright. I'll pick you up here in a second. Get this set up. This one here with the little channel, that'll go on the back end of the Stockton tool. Okay. Then we have this one here that has the two holes in it. This will go on the front end. Those are to clamp it and so not to push in on the post. So put this guy in like that, and that one on the back. Okay. Should be enough space. You can judge the space here. Plenty of space there. Okay, so that's ready to go. We'll grab our master link seals and rivets again. Alright, we got it more or less clamped on there. And that is by no means the last step in there, but it's getting closer. So, I'm going to reposition this again. Remember, we want these holes to go around the master link post. It's very important that they don't cover them because those posts are easy to warp, and they're made easy to warp by design. Okay, I'm going to come back out again. Or you don't want to just kill it on there, because if it's too tight, it'll actually ruin the rubber seals that are on there, and then it'll kink up. We'll test it out, make sure there's no kinks in it. It still moves freely, so that's good. Alright, so that's about how we want it. Now, another good way to check this to make sure it's not too tight or too far out is by using a micrometer, micrometer. Okay. So that's 18.205 millimeters. And then on our master link, looks like 18.37. So come back down here again. 18.5 on that one. Remember, this thing is measuring extremely small increments. So we're between 18.5. That one's 18.2 again. Let's try this one here. That one's a little bit bigger at 18.2. And this guy, 18.4. So we're only off by 0.2 millimeters. I'll give it a little bit of a snug up, but not much, because 0.2 millimeters is super small. It's easy to find those posts now because now they're protruding a little bit more out the side into the holes that they're supposed to be in. So I'm just going to get it tight, not too tight. There we go. Everything has to be done small, slow when you do this stuff. Now, to finish the job, now we have to flare out these posts on the master link. Let's see what the other ones are flared out at. Okay, this one's flared out at 5.58 millimeters. Okay, that's at 5.35 millimeters. So we need to flare it out about 0.5 millimeter. So to do that, we get our Stockton tool again. And we'll change our anvils again. And we want the anvil with the biggest hole on the back, which is this one. Looks like this. So I'm going to put that one here And that just grips the back end of the pin. And then we're going to use another one to flare it out. Probably this guy. Oh, it's warped to shit. You can still use it though. Actually, you know what? We'll use this big heavy one. Alright, that'll flare it out nicely. So, we're going to grab our thickest pin, which is they just call it a riveting, which is exactly what we're using it for, to rivet. So put in our spring, put in our riveter, slightly recessed again like we did before. There we go. Now we just kind of cup the master link riveter. And again, slowly, we're going to use this to flare out the tip of the rivet link. So all that is doing is it's flattening the surface of the master link pin. You don't want to do too much, because if you flatten it out too much, it'll be weak. When you flatten it out too little, the pin could slip out. Both cases would result in you losing your leg or blowing your engine. Because if this comes out, it has enough force to rip off your leg and snap the bone. And it can crank your engine. Crack your engine casing right open. Not something you want to mess around with. So make sure you flare it to spec. So I flared it a little bit. Now I'm going to back it out so we can check, we can test it with the micrometer and make sure that we're within tolerance there. Our micrometer. Okay, 5.4 versus our starting point, which is 5.3. But what we want it to look like is 5.8. So we gotta smash it some more. Well, we got it there at 0.2 right now. Clamp down. First here, and here. One, two. Maybe do almost a full spin. And again, back out of it. Take another measurement. It's a long process, but it's not something you want to mess up. .4. So we got another 1/10 of a millimeter on it. Let's go again. That was 1/10 of a millimeter with one turn. So maybe this time we'll do 2 complete turns. See how that works. Half. 2 halves. 3 halves. Alright, let's check it out. It's looking more flared. But is it too flared? Well, that's the problem. If it's too flared, you can't go backwards. Five 5.3. So let's flare it some more. We're going up 1/10 at a time, 1/10 of a millimeter at a time. Your hands are probably going to start to hurt a little, but that's okay. You only have to do this every 20,000 miles or so. 1, 2, 3. We'll go 4 this time. See what that does. No, don't want to go too much. All right. Unclamp it. See where we're at. That's looking nice. Uh-oh. But it's coming out the back. It's not nice. Oh, you know what? Maybe this anvil fell out when I put it on. Shit. It's okay. We'll just stick it back on there again. Wondering why it looked recessed like that. Do it. There you go, yeah, recessed off of it. So there's not a kink in it. Starting to kink a little there, not too bad though. Get our micrometer and make sure we haven't moved too far off that mark. You can back them out a little bit. It's not suggested though. Yeah, I got pinched a little bit there. There. Alright guys, so we're going to continue our process of riveting the master link. And remember, we want to get it to flare out about 1/2 millimeter from where it was originally. So right now we're at 5.5 millimeters from 5.3. And if we check one of these factory rivets, we'll see it needs to be at 5.8. So, just gonna continue the process of riveting. Remember, you don't want to turn too much. Just want to do it a little bit at a time, and then back off and check it. Go. Okay, we're at 5.7. So just a 1/10 of a millimeter more. And then we go to the bottom one. There we are, 5.8½. So, as you can see, it's a good 1/2 millimeter bigger than what it started out at 5.3½. So now we're going to do the same thing to this one. There we go. Alright, now we gotta bring the wheel back and take the slack out of the chain and set it to where we want it to be. So the first part of adjusting the chain will be to loosen the axle nut. You don't have to take it off, just make it loose. Next, get our 12 millimeter socket and we'll back the chain off. So we loosen these nuts here and we pull back on our rear wheel. And now just tighten up our axle nut a little bit. And we'll make some finer adjustments. Get this out of there. So we want to mark the end of the swing arm evenly on both sides of this spacer so that it's more so in the middle. So let's make sure. We want an inch to an inch and a half of play here. So we might just go back a little bit more. So I'll loosen the axle nut again. Pull back. And then I'll tighten the axle nut. There we go. That's about right. So now, where are we at on this side? It's like we're almost to this third bar. So we'll make it the same on this side. Tighten this one back up. Okay. Ooh, moved in a little. All right, bring it back out again. Looks like we have a 2.5 there and 2.5 there. So good there. All right, now we're ready to tighten it up to spec. Should be 80 Newton meters. There we go. Chain is on there and adjusted. Now we just need to put the front cover over the front sprocket and we're good to go. That out of the way. Remember this piece.
Cut out the audio one.
Alright guys, that's how you put a chain and sprocket on a 2013 R6 motorcycle. And really it's the same procedure for all motorcycles pretty much. I mean, it's just the same sprocket and chain for most sport bikes. Alright guys, stay tuned for our next episode.